Let me ask you another broad sort of historical survey question. When you looked at the Royal Navy, the image of an experience of Trafalgar propelled the image of the force and still propels the image of the force. This sort of, we're the force that wins against terrific odds sometimes, or, what have you, or whatever the adversary is. World War II was that kind of a story, and so was World War I. But World War I was very, very dicey because the service came into contact with an adversary that was very good after not having fought for a long time. And there are folks, for example, who look at the U.S. Navy and say, look, you are the world's most prominent and most powerful Navy, but you haven't been in a high-intensity scrape since World War II. You could look at this as ground forces, did have Afghanistan, did have Iraq,
and
had the
Praying
Korean
Mantis,
War.
remember?
Well, and Praying Mantis, that's true. I mean, it was, but it was a different sort of a thing than what we experienced in World War II full up. Do you think that is... what are some of the historical lessons and cultural ways to overcome that and to rebuild that sort of capability? Because there are some who look at, for example, the recent collisions and issues we faced, that it's a force that hasn't been fully exercised in a long time.
There's certainly a potential problem. I mean, my diagnosis for the reason the Royal Navy does not do that well as it should have done in the First World War, despite its massive materiel superiority, is that materiel, technology, had been the major priority. The naval officers, including the senior ones of 1914, had been steeped in technology, mathematics, and so on. They were not very good at tactics. They weren't very good actually at fighting. They didn't take the necessary precautions in their magazines, etc. They looked rather superficially at old lessons. High rate of fire, for example, it would be the secret in Nelson's day, it would be the secret now. But this meant the ammunition was very badly handled, and when they were hit, the ships blew up. And the Royal Navy's record in the First World War is frankly lackluster. Lessons were learnt, but it took another 2 decades or so to get a Royal Navy that was capable of dealing as well as it did with the problems of the Second World War, fighting against the odds.
Sir, thanks very much. It's always an honor talking to you.
Pleasure.